Alright, let's take a look inside the box and see what all comes with the Liberty Suppressor. Different things will come with different suppressors, but they all come with basic information. So inside the box, you're going to have your silencer in its pouch, of course, a sticker, and this little bit of paperwork. Then the first page is a thank you letter from the Liberty team thanking you for purchasing this product. The second page is the one we're going to go over in this video, which is things to do prior to shooting your suppressed firearm. Hello everybody, this is Dave with Liberty Suppressors, and what we want to do today is discuss some things that come in the box with the suppressor when you get it. As I showed you earlier with that piece of footage, you know, every silencer ships with a packet of information, and in that packet is this sheet. What this sheet is first steps you should follow before you use your silencer on your gun. What this does is it will greatly reduce baffle strikes out of the initial shooting session that you go to, or prevent just unnecessary damage to the silencer or the post firearm. Alright, first thing on the list is bullet stability. Alright, we're going to cut to a piece of footage here and it showed you about the bullet stability of the round. I've got some little representations and we're going to go over those on the chart so you can see what you want to do as far as bullet stability goes. Bullet holes in the target to test for bullet stability. This is the best I could do on short notice for a round hole. Ignore that little speck right there. It should be a nice, pretty round hole with a nice, symmetrical carbon mark around its perimeter. If the bullet hole looks oblong in any way, if it don't look round, then your bullets aren't stable. That means they're wobbling as they travel down range. And if you have the broadside shape of the bullet as it passes through the target sideways, that's a definite indicator that you don't want to be shooting this system suppressed until you figure out what's causing this and solving that problem. You want nice round holes in the target. Alright, now that you've seen what we're talking about as far as a visual representation of bullet stability, the next thing we'll go into is thread alignment. Thread alignment is really important and it's real easy to get wrong. And a lot of gunsmiths don't realize what it takes to do correct threads. They don't realize they need to be aligned with the bore of the barrel and not the outside. A lot of people will just chuck up on the outside and cut some threads on it and they call it good. That ain't what we need. We need to be aligned with the bore of the barrel instead. Because not all bores pass through the center of the barrel blade. Well, to check that alignment, I've got a visual representation. We'll go to that now and you can see what that looks like. What we're trying to do is we're trying to use the barrel and the suppressor to visually identify in a simple fashion whether or not the bore of the gun barrel and the bore of the suppressor are in alignment. Because when they're screwed together and they're lined up and everything's nice and straight, something like that, give or take a little bit, alright, you're going to have a witness line that's going to look similar to this when you look through the barrel and silencer together. Alright, if it's off and this thing is skewed a little bit, this is exaggerated of course, but it can be off just a little bit, and the human eye can actually see that the bore of the suppressor and the bore of the gun barrel are not together. When you blot out that bore of that gun barrel, it's going to show. You'll actually see inside of here, the gun barrel actually will be noticed. And I'm rapidly sketching this in, but you'll see the lands around the perimeter, and you'll see the spirals, where they are around the inside. And you can see that barrel. And then your eye can locate the center of that barrel, and then the silencer, if it's not lined up, will have a shadow on one side. If you see that, then you don't need to shoot your suppressor. Because what's going to happen is you're ultimately going to get damage on the muzzle end of the can, and it'll possibly do irreparable damage to the baffles. If it catches a bullet just right, they can turn up through the sidewall of the tube, and we would have to build you a new can all the way from scratch, and that would involve another $200 registration tax. We try to prevent that as much as possible. Alright, now that you've seen what that looks like, you get the idea of the shadow line around the bore, and how you're visually looking through the silencer, you can see that and understand what you're looking for. And that'll help a lot. That'll reduce a lot of unnecessary baffle strikes. All right, the next thing we're going to discuss is torque shoulder. Torque shoulder on the barrel is where the silencer stops when you screw it on the gun. Some barrels are on the muzzle edge, and some of them have a little shoulder at the back of the threads that it stops against. Depending on your gun barrel design and the size of the threads, determines whether it breaches on the muzzle of the barrel or if it breaches on that little shoulder. What's important is whichever one it breaches on needs to be clean when you seat that silencer. If you've got a little piece of trash or carbon from a previous shooting session or something gets in between them surfaces, when that tightens down, it acts as a shim on that one side, and it'll push the silencer off axis, and it'll generate an out of alignment condition. So it's really important that you keep those surfaces clean inside the silencer and or on the rear of the silencer, like rifle cans are real common to have it at the very back. Make sure there's no dents or dings in it. Make sure there's no carbon buildup. Just wipe it off before you put it on. And on the shoulder of the gun, the same thing. No dents or dings in it. And make sure there's no carbon actually against it, or even a piece of mud or whatever. If you're doing one of those tactical kind of things, shooting matches. But check that. Alright, what we're talking about on torque shoulder is this surface right here. This one here is real profound because of the kind of barrel it is. You want this shoulder, or this flat surface at the back of the thread journal, to be clean and free of debris and dust. Some guns don't have as much shoulder as others, as you can see in these two barrel drops. So some guns breach on this muzzle. If your suppressor breaches on this muzzle, then that needs to be clean and free of any debris, because if it isn't, it's going to breach on that trash and angle things off, because there has to be a little bit of play between these threads and the ones in the silencer, or they won't mesh without that clearance. And that means that they need to hit that shoulder at the back or at the bottom of the pocket dead square to make good alignment. Alright, the next thing on our list is cast bullets. Alright, there's two things that can go wrong with cast bullets here. You can not know how to cast a bullet properly and get air bubbles in them, and it'll change the center of gravity in the bullet, and it'll possibly make them either yaw coming out of the gun or tumble coming out of the gun. So if you're going to cast your own bullets, be very careful with that, and test your bullets on cardboard to make sure they're stable before you start shooting through your suppressor. The next thing to do with cast bullets is don't try to force them to go too fast. If you shoot a lead bullet too fast, it won't have time to rotate in the lands and grooves in a modern rifle barrel, and then it'll just strip off of the lands, and it'll come out of the barrel without spinning, and then it's not stable at all if it's not rotating. The next things you're going to want to watch out for is a unique situation that occurs occasionally, and that's a thread size variation. There's a 9/16 24 left-hand thread, and then there's a 14 by 1 millimeter left-hand thread. The only difference in these two threads is the thread pitch of 0.04166 inches to 0.03937 inches pitch difference. Okay, so you're only dealing with a little over 0.02 of an inch in thread pitch. Now the 9/16 24, if I'm remembering right, will screw over a 14 millimeter, and it's sloppy, but it will fit. Don't do that and then shoot your silencer, because you're not bearing on but probably one thread, maybe two, and the rest of them are in the free space between the threads, so you're not actually getting contact like you need to be, so you can very easily damage the suppressor and the gun by stripping those threads from the pressure wave. So if you're not sure if it's 14 millimeter or 9/16 24, get with us and we'll get it measured and let you know which one you have. So just be careful and be wary of that. Now, coming up after me is going to be Justin to go over some things that you need to know that he needs to bring to your attention, and then we'll talk to you soon. Have a good day.
Alright, so like David said, all that information can be found with the paperwork that comes with your suppressor. And I got a lot of stuff to give away this month, so you need to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all our content we have going on. So until next time,